Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn of CBS affiliate KPIX TV in San Francisco.
Hello.
Hey, Bruce McGowan is off today, but we do have a special guest on the phone. We have Ron Barr, who is the veteran journalist and sports broadcaster who launched Sports Byline USA, America's largest sports talk radio network. Ron, welcome to Sports Econ 101.
Well, thank you very much. And Vern, you've been around for a while, and I've been around. Anytime anybody refers to us as veteran, it makes me sound like we're about to die.
Hey, I'm right with you there, but hey, not blowing smoke, but boy, you build a Mount Rushmore of those who have launched these types of shows, and you're up there alone, brother.
Well, I thank you for those comments. And, as we celebrate our 25th anniversary as the first sports talk radio network in the country, it has not been done. I had a lot of good people involved with me. And one of the things I've always known, Edward and Vern, is that I know what I don't know, and I listen to those that do.
There you go.
So the influences in my life, because I knew nothing about business, and I will just honestly tell you, and Vern, since we're both in the San Francisco market, when I was doing a local show, I had Duke Snider in, and a guy called the show one night, and he said, "Ron, I've waited 35 years to talk to Duke Snider, and tonight you're giving me the chance." And that was the seed for the idea about a national sports talk radio network. And my broadcasting partner on television was Billie Jean King. And so we were doing an event, and I said, "Billie Jean, I've got this idea about doing a national sports talk radio network, but I don't know anything about business." And she looked me in the eye, and she said something I'll never forget. And she said, "I think I know you well enough, Ron. You never want to look over your shoulder and wonder if you could have." And that was the seed for it. And we launched on October 24th, 1988, with 12 radio stations across the country. I didn't know, we were only 2 hours a night, Monday through Friday, and I didn't know whether anybody would call or not, but I did know I could interview. And my first guest, first night, first hour, who flew in from Reno because he was doing an appearance up there, and then flew back, and we're not good friends, was the great Willie Mays.
Wow, that's great. Well, what? Probably the only time he's ever been in a leadoff position.
That's a good point. But after that first hour, Vern, I walked into the door and I said, "Willie," I said, "why did you go to such an effort?" Because as I said, we were not good friends. He said, "I like the way you treat people, and I want to be able to look back someday and say I played a part."
There you go.
What a story.
Good guy. Okay.
Yeah, and so that was where we launched from. And then my limited partnership group, you'll have an appreciation for, because it is Billie Jean King. It is Eddie DeBartolo. It is Brian Billick. It is Donald Foyle. It is Lee Steinberg. It is Darren Nelson. And all of these guys are limited partners, but they were all people that I knew could be helpful in me developing something I didn't know everything about.
Very cool. Okay, tell you what, let's get right into baseball. The All-Star Game is going to be coming up, and I was going to ask, do you think the ballots are fair? Okay, because now we're talking about Yasiel Puig. Some people are saying, hey, it's too soon to allow him to be in the All-Star Game, but it is kind of for the fans, right?
Well, I think, Vernon, I'd be interested in how you feel about it, because I think you and I both come from the same direction, as we both know it doesn't matter what we think, because it's all about money, and it's all about ratings, it's all about entertainment now. It's not like the old days where, you used to get excited about the Midsummer Classic. I don't get particularly excited about it, but to me, the ballots are never going to be fair as long as you've got the fans, because they're going to vote with their hearts rather than with their heads.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's first and foremost, it is a fans' game. And Ron, you and I have been around long enough to remember when they had this thing twice a year.
Yeah.
I don't know if the listeners realize that, but yeah, they used to have 2 All-Star games a year. And then finally, somebody in the front office said, hey, let's really make it mean something.
Yeah.
The winner will get home field advantage for the World Series. But back to the point of this being a fans' game, that's just it is what it is. It's an exhibition game, and business being business, they're going to find a way to get Puig in there.
There's always money in there, because the guys who won got paid more than the guys who lost.
Right.
So, when you're talking millions of dollars that they get, if they get an extra, 10 or 20 grand, it's not that big a deal. But still, there's a little bit of pride, too.
But Edward, you're missing the point on it. It has nothing to do with what the players are getting paid in the game, whether they win or lose. It's what sponsors will connect themselves to the balloting effort for the home run derby and all of that stuff. So that's where the big money is.
Oh no, I get you, Ron. I'm thinking about just from the standpoint of players like trying, you know, playing their hearts out. Obviously, they don't want to get hurt, but they're playing hard because there's a little bit of pride in there.
Well, it's what they do. I mean, they're professionals, and so yeah, you just line it out there, you roll the ball out there, then they're just going to go ahead and play. But I think what Ron was talking about, you know, getting those players in there and getting those sponsorships, you know, kind of leaning forward with the wallets in their hands. You know, you got to get those big names in those home run derbies and in the game itself. And the trending guy in the game is Yasiel Puig, and so they came up with that extra roster spot, and they've got him in there along with four other names, and that's how they're going to get Puig
but
in there.
then you got the coaches who have to kind of face, you know, the rest of the players, and there's all this stuff behind the scenes that.
Well, the managers have to face the other managers because they're saying, "Well, what about my guy?
Yeah,
my guy's having a great year."
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff.
But every year somebody's going to get screwed, huh, Ron?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. And you know, when you bring up Puig about him, you got to remember he's only been in the baseball, Major League Baseball for, you know, a short period of time. Is that an all-star? No. To me, I mean,
well, he's an all-star this year.
Judge him and call him an all-star. Has he had good performance? Yeah, but the pitchers don't know him yet. They haven't adjusted to him yet. And at some point, I mean, the other day against the San Francisco Giants, what did he have?
0 for 4.
7 strikeouts in 2 games?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you look at, like, okay, how did he do in June? Now, remember, we're talking about the All-Star game, and theoretically, each year should stand on its own. So he has 44 hits, surpassing the 42 by Pittsburgh's Bob Elliott in September of 1939 for second most in the player's first full calendar month. And I totally agree with you that if the pitchers don't know him yet, you know, he probably does have an advantage.
Yeah, but you know, these veterans, these guys that have been around that have labored in the league for years. I mean, boy, look at fella for the Giants, been in the majors for 10 years, finally gets in. Scudero. You know, again, veterans like that, you know, they want other veterans to get in who have been around, who have really earned it, instead of, you know, a guy that's been up for a couple months.
Okay, and here I want to finish off our first segment with this kind of stuff that we were talking about with the All-Star game. Okay, so these are the biggest, quote, mistakes, and I was just looking online about this, all right, because we're talking about Puig. 2012, selecting second baseman Dan Uggla over Aaron Hill. Okay, now Uggla was hitting .221 with 12 home runs and 45 RBIs, but Hill was hitting .300 with 11 home runs and 40 RBIs.
But you know what? That's going to happen every year, though. I mean, somebody with better numbers is going to get squeezed out. There's guys that get voted in that are on the disabled list. I mean, how does Troy Tulowitzki get voted in? The fella might not even play. He's been hurt.
Yeah, good point. Okay, 2013, right? Oakland A's, All-Star third baseman Ben Zobrist with .262 average, 5 home runs and 45 RBIs over Donaldson, who's hitting more than 50 points higher with 15 home runs and 57 RBIs.
Yeah, and I feel bad. You know what? And it's been said time and time again, the Oakland A's, that's the best team nobody knows.
Yeah, and they never get any respect. Tell you what, we're going to cut to a commercial.
But I will say this before, not to jump in, and Ron might back me up on this one. Here are the Oakland A's with that $55 million, $60 million payroll, period, total. And they're putting in better numbers. They got, there's only 4 teams with a better win-loss record than them. So it's Billy Bean and the Brain Trust laughing all the way to the bank, this being in the spirit of Sports Econ 101.
Okay, Ron, we're going to get Ron, hold on. We have to cut to our break. When we come back, we're going to have you chime in. Okay, the theme is sports in the movies. Okay, first commercial break in The Longest Yard. What was the name of
the original?
The original one, and I think even the second one, too. What was the inmates' team's name after stealing the guards' uniforms? Again, don't say until after we come back from break. The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-660-4495 to answer this question. In the movie The Longest Yard, what was the name of the inmates' team after stealing the guards' uniforms? So it really belonged to the guards. 888-660-4495. Make sure you include your name, email address. Speak slowly. Spell out your email one letter at a time. Don't touch that dial because Sports Econ 101 will be right back. Okay, that was good first segment.
Yeah.
All right. I need to give me just 30 seconds here. I got to save the file here. You having fun so far?
Yeah, you don't want to lose the file.
Yeah, don't lose the file. That's not good.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me do this.
Hey, Ron, in the early days when you did these shows and you did these interviews, were they recorded on carts? Were they recorded on tape? I mean, these are way in the days before files.
Yeah, I guess they were done on tape more than anything else.
Okay.
As far as I know, most of them I did live. We did them on tape.
Yeah, you did it. Yeah, you
you
did
did
it
the
live,
library.
but
Yeah.
to archive the show, I didn't know they were on tape.
Yeah, you were so
or-
smart to save all those archives.
Yeah, because I got the last interview with Mickey Mantle before he died, Tom Landry before he died. When Stan Musial passed away shortly ago, we had that night we played that interview. Steve Spable when he passed away. We have just
Wow.
the library is amazing.
Yeah, we interviewed Steve Sable on KNBR, and he was fun.
What was Mickey Mantle like before he died? I mean, did he have a sense that he was on his way out?
The interview with Mantle was when his book came out, and it was about 2 weeks before he passed away.
Wow.
And he was so good. Vernon, you've heard me long enough to know what my interview style is. Well, I'll get into the X's and the O's. My first question was, Mickey, you had such a great baseball career, but do you ever lament that if you had a different lifestyle, that career might have been a little bit better?
Mm-hmm.
It was a fair question, and it was on. And he answered every one of them, and he told the story about how when he was struggling, his dad said, "I'll be down there in 2 hours." He said, "Why?" He said, "Because I didn't raise a coward, I raised a man."
There you go.
Wow.
Like that.
Wow.
All right. Okay. Hold on a second because we're gonna start the next segment. Okay.
Sure.
All right. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn. We have in the studio on the phone, actually, Ron Barr. And we went to the first commercial break. We asked this trivia question. In the movie The Longest Yard, what was the name of the inmates' team after stealing the guards' uniforms?
I'm going with the Green Machine.
You're close.
Oh.
Ron.
Mean Machine.
Mean Machine.
The
Remember?
Mean Machine.
Yeah, remember Mean
That's
Machine.
right.
Mean Machine.
That's right.
Okay. I'm going to finish off just this quick All-Star thing, and then Ron, we were off break talking about your interview with Mickey Mantle. I thought that was kind of interesting. So let me just finish off a couple of quick things here. In 2009, All-Star third baseman Ryan Zimmerman was hitting .288, 14 home runs, and 52 RBIs, and he got picked over Pablo Sandoval, hitting .333 and 15 home runs and 55 RBIs. And then they said the worst one of all time was 2004, choosing first baseman Jason Giambi, who was hitting .241 with 11 home runs and 35 RBIs over Paul Konerko, who was hitting .296, 22 home runs and 59 RBIs.
Giambi, he must have been the only A that year, where somebody from every team had to get in.
Yeah, the nemesis is that every team has to be represented.
Yeah,
There must have been a pretty bad team to have to choose that.
Well, yeah, that's the system. Hey, going back, Ron. Yeah, we were talking off. I was going to say off camera. We were talking during the commercial break. Just give the folks listening just the laundry list of the A-listers that you interviewed. Unfortunately, before they checked out.
Well, certainly Mickey Mantle is on that list, and it was memorable as well. And then Tom Landry was another. And I remember one of the questions I asked Tom. I said, Tom, in that first year after you retired, how strange was it to you to be able to see the leaves turn in the fall? And he said, you're absolutely right. He said, I rarely got out of my office very much, and I couldn't tell you which season was which season, which just shows you, how buried and focused those people are. And then Stan Musial was another one that comes to mind. Steve Sable is another one that comes to mind. There have been so many people that over the years, and then, people like Chris Schinkel in our business. And then I've put together what I'm proud of in our audio vault library of 12,000 interviews. I have the largest collection of Negro League baseball players. And, somebody like a Peanut Johnson, and I'm sure you don't know who Peanut Johnson is, but Peanut Johnson was only 5'6", and she was one of only 3 or 4 female players in the old Negro Leagues, and she was a pitcher, and she was a damn good pitcher, too, by the way.
Not a knuckleballer.
Yeah, and so we have, we have all of those in the library, and they're things that as we move on in life and we lose some of these people, people will be able to go back and listen to them talk about their careers and about their lives and what it was like, growing up during some difficult times in this country when it came to race relations and everything. I know Mudcat Grant told me a great story one time. I asked him, I said, baseball has been so important to the African American community. I said, you grew up in the South, and I remember driving to the Miami International Airport from my mom's house, and along the freeway I saw a church out in the middle of a field. And I said, I noticed in the back of that church there was a baseball diamond. And I said, it was after church, obviously, and I saw men with their coats off, white shirts on, sleeves rolled up, and they were playing baseball. I said, how important was baseball to the black community and black families? And he talked about it with such great passion about how important it was and why it was a life-sustaining experience for many African Americans. And those are things that you don't get a chance to hear mostly in sports interviews.
Yeah, just getting back to Mickey Mantle for a second. Just thinking, everybody knows about his off-field, frivolity. but think if he had not tripped over that sprinkler in center field, what kind of ball player? How longer his career might have been?
Wasn't it his second year?
Yeah, right early on in his career. I mean, the guy was just it was like Mike Trout today. Remember how Mike Trout just kind of burst on the scene? I mean, he was just the guy could do everything, and then he trips over the sprinkler, right, Ron? And then just tore up that knee and just wasn't the same.
Because he was extremely fast.
Yeah,
very fast player.
Yeah, but he certainly, that was young enough. He was young enough where maybe, and of course we don't have the medical techniques that we have today. But you think about the drinking and the carousing and everything else, and he was very candid about saying that. He said, what happened to me was self-induced. And he said, I wish I had it to do over again. He said, but since I can, I want people to hear the message so that they won't make the same mistakes that I did.
I got a great story to tell you about Mickey Man, but I can't do it on the air. I can't.
Off air stuff. Okay, you know what's interesting though? You were just talking about Mickey and tripping over and all that, and it just reminded me because this is one of the things I wanted to bring up here. Comparison of baseball fields, making home runs easier in some parks, unlike the Polo Grounds. Well, of course, for right field was only 250 feet or something. Which, by the way, I just heard a statistic that Mel Ott, he had 511 home runs, right? He hit something like 390 of them at home, and only 100 and whatever away, mostly because of that right field porch.
Hey, there's a jersey that's retired in the annals of Giants baseball.
Yeah. It's got to be. I don't know how good a fielder he was, but 511 home runs.
Nothing to sneeze, and did it clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you both. Denny McClain, did you say, Vern?
No, he said he did it clean.
He did. Millot, he did it clean. 5'11", and he did it all clean.
Yeah. And one of the things I think we all lament is the fact that you don't have players telling stories like they used to. And it's really, really too bad because I remember one of my favorite stories was what Duke Snyder told me about, where the Dodgers played back in Brooklyn. He said, they had outfield advertisements, and he said there was a company that made suits.
Oh, hit sign, win suit?
That's it.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
They always placed the outfielder right in front of the sign, so nobody ever got a free suit.
Right. I think the great Gino Simoli was a right fielder for Brooklyn, who later drove a UPS truck. Yep. His route was in San Francisco.
Yep.
He'd do his route, and he'd have a cigar in his mouth. They'd play gin rummy at the Italian Athletic Club in the afternoon.
Look at this Polo Grounds being 505 feet. I mean, the famous, Willie Mays catch.
Right.
Caught it, within 20 feet of the fence?
Of the one, yeah, exactly.
I mean, that thing was.
That was the first kind of catch of its kind. That's why it was so like, oh my God, look at this.
Yeah,
now guys make over-the-shoulder catches a lot.
Yeah, and just spectacular. I still remember Ron Swoboda in 1969 in the World Series just being horizontal.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And then, of course, the World Series, and then, what happens after the play. That's the big thing about Mays was that he got the ball quickly back to the infield on that.
Well, Mays told me a great story about the fact that when they were all in New York, the Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Giants, he said that when he was a rookie and he came up, he was living in a boarding house, and it was right next door to a little store, and he said every time they played the Dodgers, the Giants played the Dodgers, he would come home and there'd be a lot of people out in front of the stoop and in front of the store, and he'd go up inside to his room, he'd look outside, they'd be gone. Didn't understand it. Every time, the night before the game. So he tells the story in the clubhouse, and the guys start laughing, and they said, "Don't you know what that is?" And he said, "No." He said, "That's all the people that are betting on the game tomorrow, and they wanted to know what time Willie Mays got in."
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, my dad used to tell me about. My dad grew up in Brooklyn, and he kept saying about how one of his favorite players was Ted Williams, and of course it was like Ted should have played in Yankee Stadium, right? And Joe DiMaggio should have played at Fenway because of the porches. If you wonder how many more home runs each one of them would have hit.
Well, I will tell you about Ted Williams because I was a very young sportscaster in Washington, D.C. when Ted Williams was the manager of the Washington Senators.
Oh, but you know what, Ron? Hey, first baseball game I ever saw in my life, it was Twins at the Senators. This had to have been 68 or 9, and Ted Williams was the manager.
Yep, and you remember where that was, RFK?
RFK Stadium.
Yep, exactly. So I'm about 19, maybe 20 years old, and, Ted had the reputation of not liking the media. And so I'm sitting on the bench. Nobody else is there in the dugout. Ted comes in, sits down, and I look down, and I want to interview him, but, it was a little bit intimidating. And so I slid down and got next to him, and he looked at me like, "What the hell do you want?" And I said, "I got a question for you, Ted." I said, "How good is the bone fishing down in Florida?" Well, you would have thought I said the magic words because, he used to do the American Sportsman with
Right.
Gowdy. And bone fishing, he was a great fisherman. And so he looked at me, he started talking about the fish. We spent 20, 30 minutes talking bone fishing. And every time after that, he saw me, whether it was baseball or anything else, he gave me all the time I wanted.
See, you diffused the bomb right away.
All that 20 minutes, that's probably more than he gave the media in 25 years of playing.
Although I wonder which manager was more intimidating, Ted Williams or Frank Robinson?
Well, Frank, you're right about that. That's a very good point, Vernon, because Frank Robinson was a guy, and we've all known this. Reggie Jackson is the same type of guy. They will challenge you to see if you're worth their time.
Yeah.
And Frank was that way. I mean, I remember with Reggie, and I treated Frank the same way when he was the manager with the Giants, that, I would stay there, and he knew I was going to be a bulldog. But with Reggie, he promised me an interview. I think he was with the Angels at that time, and he stayed out on the field longer than he should have. And he comes off, he says, "You got 5 minutes." And I said, "Reggie, I've been waiting longer than that. You're going to give me longer
There
than
you
that."
go. Okay, hey, hold on to that thought, Ron. We got to cut to another commercial break here. Here's our second trivia question. Again, the movie is sports. The theme is sports in the movies. This is an easier one. Robert De Niro played Jake LaMotta in what boxing film? The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Again, their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-660-4495 to answer this question. And no looking it up on the internet. I think Vern, I can see the smoke coming out. He knows the answer to this one. Robert De Niro played Jake LaMotta in what boxing film? Again, call 888-660-4495. Make sure to include your name, email address, speak slowly, spell out your email one letter at a time. Don't touch that dial because Sports Econ 101 will be right back. Excellent. This time goes very quickly.
Oh, yeah. Great sports movie, by the way.
Yeah. Ron, you know that one. That's an easy one.
Is it somebody up there that loves me or likes me?
No. That was Paul Newman.
That was Paul Newman, yeah.
This is Raging Bull.
You get older, you don't remember it quickly.
Yeah.
At least I don't.
The next question is going to be harder.
Oh, okay.
I'll be surprised.
Stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned for that one, yeah. I happened to see the movie, but if you didn't see the movie...
Hey, Ron, did you see 42?
Yeah, Raging Bull is the model one.
Yes.
Did you see 42?
They're sending it to me, so I'm looking forward to seeing it. I haven't seen it yet.
I kind of enjoyed it. It was okay. It wasn't great. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was good. He did a very nice job. He really did.
Well, to your point, I mean, more than like being dazzled at this major, like slickly produced, movie.
Yeah.
It told a nice story. I mean, it could have easily have been
That's true.
on an A&E movie, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, they did a good job of telling the story.
I thought they did a real good job with it.
Love Branch.
Kind of funny. I had the guy that was the stand-in for the actor who played Robinson, who did all the baseball scenes and the thing, and it was interesting to get his perspective on what it was like to do the movie. It was different.
Interesting. Okay. Got some baseball stuff here. Okay. Here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn. And on the phone, we have Ron Barr. When we cut to the second commercial break, we asked this trivia question. Robert De Niro played Jake LaMotta in what boxing film? Vern, you know that one?
Raging Bull.
Raging Bull. Good movie. Enjoyed that. Okay. One other quick thing about Major League Baseball, because it reminded me with Yasiel Puig, is what about these guys who are playing well and decide they want to renegotiate their contract? What do you feel about that?
Well, I think it's more
too young to do that. But
I think it's more their agent talking than anything else. I mean, the agent's job is to squeeze every penny he can out of an organization.
Yeah, but
so
when you sign a contract, though,
I know. It just happens every year. Somebody usually the player's in a contract year, right, Barr? Usually it's one of those deals when he wants to go ahead and renegotiate.
You got to remember that really doesn't come into play that much in baseball because they don't have any leverage to be able to jump teams or go anywhere else. And it's really up to the team. I mean, if you take a look at the talent players that have been young, you don't hear them asking for more money. They'll ask for an extension, or the club will realize that they're talented and they'll try to buy out the years for arbitration years so that they have them under contract until they become free agents. So you really don't hear that from young players in baseball very much at all.
Okay.
I was just reading a book by on the life of Vernon Lefty Gomez, who has Bay Area roots here, and I am just amazed. Now these are the New York Yankees, Edward. I mean, this is like 20s and 30s, but how year after year, like the stars of the team would have to really walk into the office and kind of plead their case just to get a raise for a few extra dollars.
Yeah.
And we're talking about salaries that's pretty much tip money to the clubhouse guy today.
Well, you go back to the early 20s with the antitrust, the exemption. And in fact, that brings me to my next point here is that the A's, they've been wanting to move, and they're testing the, what do they call it? Not the reserve clause. Is that what they call it, the reserve clause? Because here it goes, 1915, the Federal League, they were trying to, they sued MLB. And in 1922, Oliver Wendell Holmes wrote that baseball is a personal effort not subject to antitrust. And that's basically what kind of solidified so far, because it hasn't really been, it's been kind of tested a little bit, right? But you've got Major League Baseball against, they get San Jose trying to get the A's. And
San Jose, Fremont before that, try to get them. I mean, it's clear that the owner wants to move that team.
Exactly, and they have here. Okay, so lawsuit was filed, and it's challenging the Giants' territorial rights to San Jose under baseball's antitrust exemption. That's what they call it.
And San Jose originally was held by the rights for the Oakland A's, the Haas family, and then he just gave it to the Giants, and it's been Giants territory ever since.
Did he sell it to them?
Yeah,
he must have sold it to them.
Yeah, but not for big dollars.
No.
What's really stupid about it all is that the Giants have their fans, the A's have their fans, and the Giants, it should come down to if you compete on the field, you're always going to have people that want to come out and watch the product. If you don't, you're supposed to get a pass on that. I'm sorry, I don't believe in that anyway. So if you take a look at the New York Giants and also the New York Jets, they both play in New Jersey. I mean, so I think it's a little bit senseless. We got to come into the 2000s with the idea on this, and hopefully they'll get this thing resolved. But you're not going to get it with Bud Selig as the commissioner. That's for damn sure.
Well, the Giants don't want the Golden State Warriors to move to San Francisco. Exactly. I mean, it's right in their backyard. The Giants don't even want it.
Yeah, and the reason for that, I'll give you some insight on it because I have a little bit of inside information on this thing, is that they wanted the Warriors to jump into an arena that they were going to build on their parking lot
Right.
corner to the baseball stadium, and they wanted to have them under their thumb. Well, I'm sorry, when you have Peter Goober, who is a master entertainer, and also Joe Lacob, who has the money, they are not about to become a subservient tenant to the San Francisco Giants on that sort of thing. And I was talking to a friend of mine who's with the team, and he said they checked the overlap, and he said when it came to any scheduling as far as ball games for the two teams, it was only less than 5. So it's not, like traffic will be a major problem.
Right.
I said to him, well, what about if you happen to have, the circus in town or an ice show or something else? He said, yeah, to some degree. He said, but it would not be a major problem.
But to think about it, Rod, boy, if they get that thing built right next to the bridge and they have it looking like the Opera Plaza that's in Sydney, Australia, wow, what a jewel that's going to be. But
it is.
And I wonder if it would make AT&T Park all of a sudden look small.
Sure. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. It's not so much as the smallness of it. I mean, it's a baseball stadium, first and foremost. That's why the Kraft Bowl is moving down to the new Levi Stadium down in Santa Clara. I mean, it is what it is, and it's always going to be a draw as long as you're putting a good product on the field.
So when did the Oakland Coliseum, because they have both basketball and baseball right there, is that the same sort of issue? They were kind of sharing, you know what I mean?
Well, the stadium was for the outdoor venues, and then the arena housed the Warriors, and they had the Contras that wouldn't be so big, they'll have to move it to the stadium. But now, when the Warriors come to San Francisco and they want to do it in 2017, they're going to have that brand spanking new arena, and they want these, and that will pull the attractions away from Oakland and into San Francisco.
Yeah. How many seats do you think they'll hold? Still like 25,000 probably.
I don't know if it'll be
Didn't
that
they used to
many.
play at the Cow Palace? Where
Well,
the San Francisco Warriors?
Well, Ron can go back to that one. I mean, Cow Palace had everything.
Yeah, they used to run cattle shows through there. Look, the answer to the thing, if it was a perfect, and I know we got a national audience here, and I don't want to bore them to death, but I think every city in the country is dealing with this, especially if they're a major city with multiple pro teams in here. But if in the San Francisco Bay Area, if they or if they can find an accommodation for the Raiders to play down in the new stadium in Santa Clara, tear down the arena when the Warriors move over to San Francisco, and then build the Oakland A's a first-class stadium there, because you've got BART already in there, you've got a freeway system already in there.
Yep.
You're going to draw people if you give them a good stadium.
Yeah, you got to float a lot of bonds.
Build it and they will come.
Exactly. Okay, well, tell you what, since we do have a national audience, let's move on to something else here. 31 cars failed inspection for illegal roof flaps at Daytona practice.
Ooh, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, now isn't this just like sort of like steroids in baseball? I mean, you get some illegal edge. And
one of them was my 1990 Volvo.
But here's the funny thing is that, okay, so they get caught, and it's like, okay, so what's the penalty? Well, they were apparently still allowed to participate. I mean, it's cheating in sports. So
31 cars.
31 cars. Now,
31 cars. And what's a field? What, maybe 40 cars in a field?
So I'm thinking it's all about money again, as it always is. Where it's like, how can they just say, okay, you guys have to go home, and we're just going to have 9 cars?
Let me just say this about NASCAR and when it comes to the cheating. Yeah, there are some things that probably go beyond. But when you're talking about technology, you're talking about an evolving technology. You're talking about bending the rules to some degree, and you're talking about maybe a bolt that's a quarter of an inch larger than what it should be.
Well, in this case, hey, Ron, in this case, it was the roof flaps spacers.
Yeah, it was the roof flaps.
Yeah, illegally machined down to reduce weight. And that reminded me, when I used to bowl semi-professionally, when I went to tournaments, believe it or not, there was cheating there, too. In
What?
fact,
In
yes,
bowling? Get
absolutely.
out of here.
I'll tell you what.
Don't you just aim for the arrows?
No, before that. What they would do is you'd have to get your ball weighed, make sure that it's not over 16 pounds. That's the limit. But then they would also test for hardness. Because
Never had that problem.
Yeah. Well, what you do is, generally they like to oil the lanes, and you want to get as much hook as possible. So you want a ball that's really soft. Guys used to dip their ball in acetone and make it a really soft ball so that it would grab lane.
Wow.
Illegal. Okay. Other guys would put it in the refrigerator in the morning to harden it up, so that when they tested it for hardness, it would pass.
Just couldn't give it some Viagra, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And if you had a hard ball, not balls, if you had a hard ball, or excuse me, if you had a cold one, they would literally say you have to wait an hour before we test it again. So, here's what I'm thinking about is that, with all this cheating going on, in effect, is it good for sports? Let's say the steroids, because you're getting a lot of home runs. People
Let me turn it around on you. What sport, if any, do you guys think in which there is no cheating?
Boxing, no.
Oh, that's a good one.
Badminton, curling.
I don't know.
There you go.
No, not badminton. You're wrong there. Remember what happened in the Olympics where they...
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. They were throwing games. Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that. Gee, the one thing we picked up on. Okay, yeah, curling. I guess volleyball. So far I've yet to. Of course, if you throw games, you can do it in any sport.
You could.
Yeah, that's kind of that's funny. Okay. What another thing here? What did I want to? Oh yeah, Celtics hire coach Brad Stevens from Butler, and he's going from college to NBA.
That surprised me. How about you, Ron?
It surprised me a little bit, and I don't know what they were thinking about or what they saw in him, but. I'm sure that, I'm not saying it happened at his program in college, but Vernon, you and I both know, as the old line is that some of the college basketball players take a pay cut when they go to the pro.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, some of these guys. Well, I was wondering what's the probability that a coach can go from the NBA to college and then back to the NBA?
Now look at Rick Pitino.
Rick Pitino did.
Yeah, sure he did.
He went from college to the NBA
Pro,
back to college.
Yeah, but he's.
But I'm saying from NBA to college and then back to the NBA.
Well, Larry Brown, right? He did.
Okay.
He jumped back a bunch of times.
Yeah.
All right. So it does happen. I like that.
Is it common? No. Does it happen? Yes, it can happen.
Well,
it was probably the right hire if you think that the guy is a young, good, solid coach, because after the deals that they made and they got rid of the veteran players, they're in a rebuilding mode anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so you may as well go with somebody who, if you ascertain he's a strong coach, bring him in, put some young players around him, see what he can do.
He's only 36 years old, and he'll be the Celtics' first head coach in 63 years with no NBA experience.
That smells like that smells like a 3-year plan, huh, Ron?
No, you're right about that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. We are going to cut to our third and final.
Oh, goody! Tough question coming up.
Yeah, here's a tough question for you. Okay, who played the role of Jack Jefferson, a boxer resembling early 20th century Jack Johnson? Remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the movie Great White Hope. First 3 callers with the correct answer. Ooh, I see him stumped on this one. Okay,
wait a minute. Wait. I gotta read it again for the break.
Read it again. Okay, Fred, let me just tell. First 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-660-4495 to answer this question. Who played the role of Jack Jefferson, a boxer resembling early 20th century Jack Johnson? I mean, you can almost just substitute the two. It really was that close. In the movie Great White Hope, make sure to include your name.
I got a good guess.
Okay, make sure to include your name, email address, speak slowly, spell out your email one letter at a time. By the way, Ron, do you know the answer to this one?
Nope.
Okay. I'm sure you will have heard of the actor, though. That's a for sure. Okay, don't touch that dial because Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back.
I think I know.
Okay. All right.
Without looking down.
No cheating here.
Where is the Lighthouse Resort?
It's between Rio Vista and Stockton. It's in the Delta Loop.
Okay.
Now, here's a secret. Nobody knows. So you can't repeat this, but I own it. That's why I can get the vacations. Okay. Let's see here. Sports Econ 101, July. Segment number there. And then we just have a very short segment, and then we're done. Okay, so let's see if you can answer this question here. We'll see about any last minute closing comments, because this one's only 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Darren gave me the
2:30 in the show.
2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay,
Wow,
all right.
That's it.
Well, listen, when you come back, why don't you kiss me off, and then you two guys can fill it out. That way, both of you can control the time on the out.
Okay, okay. I'll just give you my quick thoughts for the day because they're kind of funny here.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, ready? I always end them with little funny thoughts for the day. So, my one time my wife had a suspicion that I had been cheating on her, so I said, "Don't worry, I'm not interested in disappointing another woman." And do you realize now this one's kind of silly? Do you realize if Venetian blinds hadn't been invented, it would have been curtains for all of us? That's a little too
and
silly.
you're here all week.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right, Ron. So we'll ask you for like one last minute quick story, and then we'll say goodbye to you. All right. And away we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn, my co-host, and we're on the phone with Ron Barr. Okay, Vern, you said you know the answer to this question.
I
You
think I might know.
Okay, who played the role of Jack Jefferson, a boxer resembling early 20th century Jack Johnson in the movie Great White Hope? Who is
My
that?
guess is, gosh,
Come on.
is it Michael Duncan Kennedy?
No, it was James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he did.
That's right.
He did a very good job. It's an older movie too.
He was great in Field of Dreams, among other things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love that voice. Ron, before we say goodbye to you, any last comments?
Well, no, it's just that I hope that fans will tend to be a little more tolerant when they evaluate athletes. Really, as I've said many times, there are very few jobs in which if you have a bad day at the office, you read about it the next day in the newspaper or hear it and see it on radio and television. And if you have a bad day at the office, very few of us, when we go back into our office, get booed. So I hope that fans will look at the bigger picture and enjoy sports for what it is, because I get real concerned when I see the trickle-down effect sometimes and how athletes. I was up in a softball game in Montana, and there was a kid that just got really upset because things didn't go his way, and I was talking with his dad, and he said, he's on a select team, and he said, Ron, he said, all of these kids are this way. He said, they're traveling all over the country, and so my only message is that it is still a game, and always keep that in mind.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Well said.
And here's our thoughts for the day. One time my wife had a suspicion that I might be cheating on her, so I said, don't worry, I'm not interested in disappointing another woman. Yes, she appreciated that. And do you realize that if Venetian blinds hadn't been invented, it would have been curtains for all of us? Okay, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101, where we're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and giving away vacations for answering sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, your host. We'll see you next week. So long. Ron, thank you very much for being our guest.
My pleasure. Vernon, take care, partner, and I know you're over